And as ever on a Thursday, we have Kent Film Club's Chris Deasy here to unpack all the biggest headlines. Now, we're deviating slightly this week. Normally have you talking about all the movies and the movie magic. We're going to the smaller screen though. The phenomenon that is Stranger Things. After 3 years of waiting, first part of the final series or season rather. It's that's what they call it in America, isn't it? Is out. Can you give us a bit of a brief overview of this phenomenon?
Well, I can, because it came out at 1 o'clock in the morning, and there were reports of people setting their alarm even before going to school or getting up at 5 o'clock this morning to watch this season. And of course, it's being unveiled with various episodes coming out up until Christmas and New Year. Now, it's 1980 set. Now, you're right, because it is a deviation in the sense that it's not a film, strictly speaking. However, Empire Review, all the film magazines and journals are reviewing this, and it is a total phenomenon. I mean, I think the age has gone where we can simply say this is a film, this is a TV show. It used to be the case with the Oscars that, famously Linda Fiorentino wasn't nominated for a film, The Last Seduction, in the mid-90s because it had its premiere on TV. And then in more recent years, Roma won an Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Director, and it was a Netflix series. So I think we are in an age now where this sort of phenomenon works. Small screen, big screen, it really has crossover appeal.
And with Stranger Things in particular, not just on the small screen as well, but we've seen that it's been adapted onto the London stage as well. The Duffer Brothers really having that, piece of history, that setting there, taken to loads of different kinds of media. And, ever since it came out, that 80s nostalgia has been so central to the success of the show. What is it about that period that cinema viewers, TV viewers, now stage theatre goers, what is it that keeps drawing us back to that time period?
Well, this, I think, is crystallised by the film Donnie Darko, because I remember this era. I know Winona Ryder's in this, and of course we associate her with films from that period, like Beetlejuice in the late 80s. Now, this is an era, anybody like me who grew up in that decade will remember what it was like to be at school.
I wasn't going to remind you.
No, well. But when you look back at these films, you see there's something very visceral. Stephen King's It as well, the one that came out in 2017, did it completely. Because this was an age before social media. And it was an age when you'd have to queue up to get your records or cassettes, and people would have their Walkmans on. And you watch all those horror films like Nightmare on Elm Street, which have had a rerun in recent years, especially with Halloween just last month. And when you're watching this, you are transported back into that era. And it feels strangely innocent because we didn't have the smartphones that we have today. We didn't have Facebook. But when you're watching this, you also see that there was a lot of menace because we didn't have apps that would say, be careful, there's somebody behind you, turn around and press this button and call the police or whatever. So in a way, there's an innocence, but also a sense of mystery and suspense. And it feels so, it's 40 years old, but this period, what is it, between 83 and 87 are the years that Stranger Things is set in. And I think it feels close, but also very foreign.
And something that I'm really fascinated by is there's a real sort of soft spot a lot of people have for the 80s. I mean, I wasn't even born in the 80s, but I love the 80s music, I love the 80s films, and there's a real soft spot a lot of people have for this period. But politically, socially, it was quite a disruptive time as well. So where is that kind of disconnect? Why is that disconnect there?
And you see it with films that are based around, like Billy Elliot, the miners' strike of 1984-85. And in a way, these are films that are nostalgic in their appeal, the music from the era. But also, as you say, it was a time when the country was very discordant and was very much at odds with itself and torn apart. And I think that's also part of it, that actually it's the counterpoint and the counterpart. You can have the two together. We can feel nostalgic for an age when we weren't necessarily very happy, but it was also the music or the movies that enabled us to get through it all. And when we hear them, watch those films and listen to those songs, we're reminded that actually we survived. I will survive, although that was technically end of the 70s.
Now, a bit of a gear change to another seasonal period of films. One that you are most definitely an expert in. We've got here Christmas Karma, one of the latest Christmas films out. We've also, what I want to kind of talk about is more those sort of Hallmark movies, those sort of rom-coms you get at this time of year, that have really, really found a niche and really taken hold of the public in the last few years especially. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, totally. Well, Christmas Karma you mentioned. Now, I went in with some trepidation. I saw this on the weekend because it had terrible reviews. But and how many iterations have we had of the Scrooge story? And of course, for me, The Muppets is the definitive one. But this one, I have to say, first 10 minutes, you see Danny Dyer in a taxi cab singing, and I thought, oh, there's a grime-filled rap about the cost of living crisis, and I thought, oh, this could really not work. From the director, Bend It Like Beckham. After 20 minutes, I was sobbing because it's the lead character here is a British Asian. His family moved from Uganda in the 1960s and the 70s and experiencing prejudice in the 80s. Back to what we were just saying actually about the 1980s. And that explains him and why he is sceptical of Christmas, why he prioritises money and doesn't get close to people. So I thought it was a really well-developed Scrooge story that was updated. So with that sort of Ugandan backstory, no one else has done anything like this. And a lot of it, of course, was very twee, and a lot of it was very, it has all the ingredients that make Christmas films either wonderful or terrible. But I came away, and to be sobbing, maybe it's my age, but actually sobbing while watching this film. So for me, it was a wonderful blend, Christmas karma. It worked almost in spite of itself.
And we've only got about a minute left before the end of the show. Just give us an idea of some of those tropes that we see in those, Christmas Carol renditions, all those Hallmark movies.
Absolutely, and they're always about family. Now, often, like Jingle All the Way is another example, but those Hallmark films, they always involve family. They involve relationships. Now, there may be a consumerist backdrop. They always go to these big department stores. Think of Arnie getting that big turbo toy for his son. But at the end of it, it's somebody expressing, albeit through money, through commercial transactions, love for somebody close to them. And that, in a way, is what Christmas is about, because we may spend an awful lot of money. Yes, it's consumerism run rampant, but we do it to express love for somebody close to us. And it's that mismatch.
Chris, next week we're going to start opening the advent of Christmas films when you join us on the show. Thank you very much, as ever, for unpacking all of those stories for us. Now,